Do you know someone, or are you personally battling a drug and alcohol addiction? Why are so many people addicted today? And why have so many people died as a direct result of this disease? If you've been affected by this problem and want answers like we do, then join us in our efforts to face this disease. Our purpose is to examine the truths, expose the lies, and uncover and provide resources to this affliction. Come, join us in this journey. Addiction and recovery is a serious topic. While doing this show, we're hoping that we spark an interest not only for members who may have struggled themselves with addiction and recovery, but also people who are just not really well informed about the topic. Because why today are so many people suffering from this affliction, yet we're not really making the progress that we should be making? In times before, we've thought of addiction as a bad habit or just bad people use bad drugs. Today, we're realizing more than ever that it's not just about having a bad habit or being a bad person, that it's an illness, a sickness, that if not treated, people will die and family members are left behind suffering. If you have questions and you're wondering what you can do in this fight against addiction, then you are like many of us. And this is the reason for a broadcast like this. We not only want to provide information and raise awareness, even educate, but we also want to do something to make a difference. If it's getting involved in telling your story, or if it's reaching out because you need help. We want you to know here at Addiction and Recovery TV that we're here for you, and we're also here to listen. There's many resources today. We're very fortunate that in this time and era that although this addiction is an epidemic, we've also been able to provide resources like never before. With the help of the government officials and even members of the community, we can make a difference and we can fight back against this disease. But some of the questions that we still need to ask on this program are, why is it that people are so lost? What makes someone turn to drugs in spite of everything else? We've had some guests on our program who've talked about this and even answered the question in so many words by saying that we're not united, that love is missing, and people are indeed in search of their own true identity. So, how is society addressing this issue? If we even are we providing truth to individuals? Are we helping people to find themselves in a world full of so many options? Well, at Addiction and Recovery TV, we would like to help you in this search, even if it's just by letting you know that you're important and that you mean something and that your life has worth and value. Many of us have come a long way in our lives and it didn't happen overnight. There's many struggles that we all face and we've overcome, whether it be divorce, relocation, death, tragedy, or substance abuse. We're all in need of recovery from something. We're hoping that as you tune into this broadcast and like our page on Facebook, that you will be a part of the movement and you'll be able to help other people. Welcome back to Addiction and Recovery TV. I'm your host, Charlene DeChico. I'm standing here today outside of a 12-step fellowship meeting with a member of this fellowship who has given us a little bit of insight of his story. He's going to share with us how he served 30 years in prison and was able to rehabilitate his life and also suffered from substance abuse and has been able to stay clean. So we want to thank our guest here, Danny. And Danny, why don't you tell the public, and thank you again for opening up with us, a little bit about your story and how you wound up in prison.
All right. I was born and raised in Redondo Beach, California. I'm 5 generations of family there, and I'm basically the only black sheep. When I was 13 years old, both my parents were alcoholics and addicts, and of course I became an alcoholic and an addict. and I ran with it my entire life. Stealing, robbing, whatever it took, doing a lot of bad things to stay high and drunk. And when I was about 24 years old, becoming a drug dealer, we had a bad situation and a friend died behind that. I ended up in prison for 30 years, and when that door closed behind me, I had to make a choice, and I chose to try to change my life, and I did change my life. And after 30 years, the state saw fit to let me have a second chance at life, and I got that second chance through the fellowship, working a spiritual program, and following a set of principles that are so simple that anybody can do it if you put forth the effort. The fellowship became my family.
So you talk about the fellowship. I know in talking earlier, we talked a little bit about it being a spiritual program. And also, not only are you call yourself a member of this fellowship, but also a trusted servant, you had mentioned, because you hold a position where they trust you with money, keys, and from someone who's lived the life that you lived and even served in prison, how has this affected you, knowing that you're a part of this fellowship or program and they consider you with a person that they can trust today?
Well, sometimes, Charlene, it makes me want to cry that I've come so far and people trust me and believe in me, and has led me to believe in myself. And I've turned my life around and gotten everything I've ever wanted. I'm living life on a daily basis to its fullest now. And I can't ever imagine whatever made me become a drug addict.
Wow. And, talking about addiction and recovery, we find a lot in research and studies and just in recent news today that most addicts don't stay clean. They're able to maybe get clean, but staying clean seems to be the hardest thing for an addict. And in your case, you're actually staying clean, living a program, you have commitments, and you have a story to tell. What do you think is the cutting edge that you're able to actually live and stay clean?
Well, in the years I was in prison, they offer many programs on how to change your life, cognitive behavioral therapies, 12-step programs, a lot of different anger management programs, and the prisoner basically has the choice to take these and learn something or not, and just be a convict, sitting around the prison yard getting high, fighting, and all of that good stuff. I chose to avail myself of those. The problem is, on getting out, there's not many programs for parolees to jumpstart into life, and many of them just don't have the life skills to find jobs, find places to live. They just don't have it, and the state really does little to help them.
Wow. So in your case, you've been very fortunate that you were introduced to this program or 12-step fellowship and took it serious enough to, I guess, start living by it. Is this a way of life for you? Is it a hobby? What would you consider someone that's coming out of treatment that would go to one of these meetings? Just something maybe to check out? Or, it sounds to me like you're a faithful member.
I am. This is this fellowship and living the spiritual lifestyle. This has become my life. The members have become my family, and I really don't associate outside of that family. I work, I have a home, I have a car, and I'm very happy with my life. I'm very happy with my new family.
Well, that's awesome, Danny. We can't thank you enough, and we hope the viewers, if you have a similar situation or you know someone in your family that's suffering and hasn't been able to change their ways, here today we've talked to someone who's living proof that change is possible, and in this case, recovery. Recovery is definitely possible. So thank you so much, Danny.
Thank you, Charlene.
Thank you. Welcome back to Addiction and Recovery TV. So we also have Charles with us today, and he is also a member of this 12-step fellowship. And so we're going to hear a little bit about Charles and his story. We're going to talk to Charles a little bit about his issues with substance abuse and his life before and his life today. Charles, you want to tell the public, and thank you again for discussing with us your personal life.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity to kind of share my experiences, because I think addicts come from all different kinds of backgrounds, class, education levels, etc. For me, I think growing up in the kind of culture that I grew up in, sort of corporal punishment was kind of given. It was sort of considered normal. I mean, we're not necessarily that way anymore, but there was a lot of child abuse, what we would today consider child abuse. At that time, it was considered good parenting. And so I think that I had a lot of inner hurt that I was sort of self-medicating through using. That's kind of how I ended up with a problem, in spite of, having a good education, stable family otherwise,
So you then actually developed a substance abuse problem? Were you incarcerated, or now you are as a member of this 12-step fellowship and you're attending these meetings today? How did you go from substance abuse problem to recovery meetings?
Yeah, I would say I found it difficult to be a person of color in this society, using drugs and avoiding the legal system. So that was a part of it. However, unfortunately, it wasn't a big part of me coming into recovery, because it seemed like I would keep going lower and lower. So I was introduced to these kinds of programs as I was going through the system, but I really just didn't care. I had other priorities, which was self-medicating. And so that really blinded me to entering into these recovery programs, but I was introduced to it. And I think the one thing I did get, even though I never really listened, was that if I ever did want to get clean, and I hope to God I never reached that point, but if I ever wanted to, I knew for certain where I could go for sure to get clean. And that was the one thing I did find out through.
Yeah. So the information was out there. You heard about the program. It was just about getting to the program, attending. And so you obviously made it to your first meeting. What keeps you coming back today?
Yeah, it was about willingness in the beginning, right? I didn't have any willingness. I just wanted to keep using in spite of its negative consequences. I think when it got to the point where I did want to finally stop, and when I realized I couldn't, that's when I realized I had to come into the program on purpose, not ordered by a court, right? And to become willing. And for that basically meant what kept me out of being in the program before was looking at how I was different than everybody. I said, these people are old, because I was young when I was first going into those programs, forced into the programs. I said, I'm smarter than these people. I'm younger. I'll do it differently. I don't use the same drugs. I do use the same, whatever. There was a lot of differences, and so I felt above all of that. Eventually, what brought me in was, I was too miserable, and I couldn't live the life I was living anymore. So that's when I became willing to take any kind of direction, no matter what. If people gave a suggestion, we don't take orders or anything. People make a suggestion, and I know that it's consistent with what people have experienced to help keep them clean and to improve their lives and everything. I just went on that, because for me the problem was my brain. Whenever my brain gave me an idea, it was an idea that got me into the same place, which was the gutter, and it got me there faster and faster. I needed a brand new way to live, and I needed to change everything about my life. Nothing was working anymore.
So basically you only had to change one thing, which was everything.
And for me, that wasn't, I think earlier when I didn't want to come into the program, I didn't want to get clean, that was a frightening thought. I didn't want to change anything, let alone everything. Once everything finally broke down and fell apart, ironically, when I finally came back around, I ironically found that to be a big relief. There was nothing I wanted to salvage from my old life. I wanted to change everything. I wanted to find a brand new way to live, and I wanted to finally get an actual solution for the inner pain that I was self-medicating for.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again, Charles, today for your time.
Thanks for letting me share.
Your vulnerability, and I hope that somebody out there can relate to Charles's story and realizes that no matter what barriers stand in your way, if you're addicted or you know someone that is, that change is possible. Yes. And you can get and stay clean.
Yeah, even if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't have to use it if you don't.
Thank you for joining us today here on Addiction and Recovery TV. We've had the opportunity to talk to members of 12-step fellowship groups. These members consider themselves addicts or former substance abuse users who have been able to not only stop using drugs and get clean, but stay clean through working a program. And we've gotten to hear their stories today. So if you're someone out there that is addicted or knows someone that is addicted and is struggling with getting clean or staying clean, I think these are two good examples of individuals who are able to do just that. And we've definitely known over the years that this is one of the biggest problems that we have for addicts, is that it's very hard for addicts to stop using, and it's very hard for them to stay clean. And so we've heard from our guests today, and we hope that we've inspired you and even given you some hope by their stories. I've definitely been encouraged, and I believe that their stories are true. And I am very grateful to understand the spiritual nature of these 12-step fellowships. So continue to join us in our efforts to raise awareness and to unite to fight against addiction, and keeping recovery always at the forefronts of our mind and our hearts. And as we talked about today, our spirits. Thanks again. Welcome back to Addiction and Recovery TV. And Jen, why don't you tell us a little bit about Enlightened Solutions?
We are a partial hospitalization program, intensive outpatient program, and outpatient. We kind of take the client through all the levels of care after detox and residential treatment. So, and we incorporate all the holistic modalities into that. So it's acupuncture, chiropractic, yoga, art therapy, music therapy, and it's really all integrated together.
So the holistic approach, very interesting, and it's enlightened. And so you also have with you today Rob Snyder. He is your executive director. Rob, you want to tell us a little bit about your functions at Enlightened?
Sure, I'm the executive director of clinical services. I work very closely with Jen, and so our day-to-day operations kind of look like the clients will start with acupuncture, and acupuncture sets them up for a calming effect as they go into group. Our group therapy, we focus on a 12-step modality, cognitive behavioral therapy. I like to do stuff on the brain and addiction, cognitive behavioral therapy, and evidence-based. We use Living in Balance. So we also focus very heavily on family interaction. We believe in inviting the families in, so we have the families involved in our groups, if the family is willing to participate and if the client is willing to let the family participate. And then in the afternoon we move into our ancillary services, and our ancillary services are yoga, art, music, therapy. We do Aikido. We do energy healing with Lucy. We also provide, Lucy's also an RN, and she also provides our didactic seminars on like HIV, hepatitis. So educating the client all the way around is important. We provide case management services, individual counseling, and it's very personal. So like as an executive director, I mean, I jump in the group, I run. I get out of my lane a lot, you know what I mean? I get out of my lane and I come in a group and I'll run group and participate. Clients can come in and out of my office. We want it to be a very personal touch. There is no big eyes and little, U's, and it's a very open door kind of policy. There's a very good flow in Enlightened Solutions.
Like a family helping family,
Family,
right?
yes.
And so the clients that come for treatment, this day treatment, do they come and go at their discretion, or is there residential housing, or?
So it depends. I mean, everybody gets an assessment to determine their appropriateness. We have some clients that come in and they already have housing. So
they're outpatient? And
they're outpatient clients, and that's appropriate for what they need. Or as we all know, sometimes we have clients that refuse the higher levels of care, a little self-directed, and we kind of work with them and just try to meet the client where they're at, because we know any treatment is better than no treatment. But ideally what we're looking for is the client that's coming out of detox or residential treatment that would participate in our partial care program. And we utilize housing in the area. Serenity Estates, they work very well with us.
So, and we have Terry Burns here today, and she's from Serenity Estates. So, Terry, can you talk to us a little bit about how you're linked with Enlightened Solutions and that housing component?
Sure. So I'm with the Hanson Foundation, which Jennifer Hanson also co-founded, and we have Serenity Estates and Serenity Houses, which is the sober living. So Serenity Estates are people that are in treatment. So they're sometimes in partial care or IOP, whether they're in, most of them are in Enlightened Solutions because we work hand in hand with them, but some of them are in the areas. So we'll take them on rides. We'll bring them to and from treatment. They'll go to a meeting every single day. It's staffed 24/7, healthy organic food. They go to the gym almost every day. They'll go to yoga. And then they're more like a family there as well. They eat dinner together. They play cards and, heads up and all those games that they like to play. And, they help each other. It's more of a family dynamic than anything, and all our staff are in recovery, which is pretty awesome because we can best understand each other. So I love what we do.
So Ashley, we're going to ask you a little bit because you're going to give us the inside look of a day in the life of receiving treatment at Enlightened Solutions and then also residing in one of the houses. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So in the morning we wake up, there's staff there, so for people that don't get up very well, the staff helps us, get us out of bed.
So this is your house. You live
Yes,
in
in the
an
Estates.
apartment or a house?
Oh no, it's a 3-story home. It's gorgeous. There's like a bathroom in almost every room. It's nice living with everyone. It's a really beautiful house. So we get up, we get ready, eat breakfast, go to Enlighten, and then our day will get started. We start with group. It's like a group setting, which is I think it works. We do have one-on-ones, but the group, you get a lot of feedback from the group, not just from the counselor, from your peers as well. So that's like an interesting dynamic. We do yoga, we have Aikido, we have different services after, which is nice.
We're learning a lot today about treatment and through this perspective of receiving treatment at Enlighten. And so Ash, as being someone in recovery, can you tell us what has changed about your perspective about addiction or the disease and just from being in the environment at Enlightened Solutions?
Well, even just living in the house, just the structure, doing chores and having to be up and do certain things, I think it's been like extremely helpful because otherwise, without structure or plan, sometimes that is a recipe for disaster. So just the structured setting. But then even with Enlighten, doing things that you wouldn't normally be comfortable with, like I've never really done yoga and stuff like that, but it's like grown on me. And, routine is healthy, so.
Have you been able to understand the disease and gain a better perspective in the component of a problem that you may have had, and how has that developed?
Yeah, I've definitely gained a lot of knowledge on the disease and, helping me figure out who exactly I am and stuff. I think it's something that it's never just going to be learned. I think it's always going to be a developing thing. But yeah, I've learned a lot so far.
Are you prepared for what is ahead, and have you guys talked about that as a whole of what's up ahead in your journey?
Yeah, I think Enlighten does a pretty good job of breaking down the freedoms. So you start in like a partial care program, and then little by little you gain more freedoms as opposed to just throwing you right out there. So it's definitely a transitional thing. When I'm able to get a job, and then I'll get like a cell phone, and I'll get like certain freedoms. So it's not just all at once. Mm-hmm. So it definitely is a transitional change.
I really like what I'm hearing because that's what this show's purpose is, to actually let people know that there's help available. I like the long-term idea. I like the structure idea. I like transitional steps and how your program is really tailored to an individual because, addiction takes people to different places. Mm-hmm. Some are still, drinking tea like this, but they're addicts, and then some people are laying in the gutter. So I really admire that, and I think as a panel here that we're all uniting to face addiction. We want people to know that you can make a phone call and get the help you need. Some will go there, some will go there. Our big thing is that we're really tired of people dying.
Sure.
And we want to make sure that we're in position to carry what needs to be carried. We're chosen to do this. Thank you very much.
We're getting an inside look here of treatment from a perspective of a facilitator and a client and support services. And so, Ashley, as the client, closing remarks of just what you would share with the viewers about either having a problem, a substance abuse problem, and or someone that's interested in receiving treatment, or possibly someone that knows someone that needs treatment.
For anybody that's looking for treatment, it's never too late to get help. I'm so thankful that I was able, to get into where I'm living and also my treatment center. And it's been, it was scary. And now, like, there's hope. And I can turn this around and I can do something good. Another thing, too, like, I love the organic approach of things. And, like, because I stopped putting junk in my body. And, if I wasn't there, I would probably still be putting, other foods and junks. So, just the healthy lifestyle is so important, and definitely utilizing it.
Awesome. And Terry, what did you want to tell our viewers in closing?
Well, that help is possible and that we do recover. And if you need anything, call anytime.
And perhaps maybe you guys will come back on and sometime down the road and share with us what
More successes.
more successes of what,
Yeah.
and you'll share with us more successes. And
The only time hope is gone is if they're gone. You don't have to die.
Hope, helping other people every day.
That's
take a
right.
look at that information on the screen when we go to break, and we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us here at Addiction and Recovery TV. We hope that you are enjoying this broadcast as well as feeling the necessity to get more involved with this issue. We know about addiction and we hear about this epidemic all around, and we also hear about recovery. But what are we doing as individuals, as a community, as a country, and as a global network to address this issue? Hopefully in this broadcast, we'll explore some of these ideas and even put some of these ideas into practice. So if you're making a difference in your community in regards to addiction and recovery, or if you have a story you would like to share with us, please reach out and let us know how you want to be involved in helping our efforts to raise awareness, to educate, to discuss topics that we're already talking about, but also push the envelope. It's time to really get involved with addiction and recovery, and it's time to make a difference for good. So thank you so much for joining us here at Addiction and Recovery, and we look forward to hearing from you.